Hello and welcome to another episode of Franklin and Douglas, where we talk about current events and give you bad advice. I'm Franklin, and with me, as always, is my buddy Douglas. Double D, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you very much for asking. Not too bad here. What's going on there in the big Ohio?
Well, currently we are, I think, feeling some of the effects of Hurricane Milton. That's down south, so our weather's getting a little bit cooler up here, some rain. Otherwise, I went to the local grocery store recently because I had to restock on some beer provisions because, that's important. You never know if we're going to be an emergency. Uh,
That's true.
but I noticed that for me, like when I go shopping and I go out in public, like I am not observant of like people or my surroundings. Like I'm kind
I
of
know
just
that.
tunnel visioned, like go in, get what I need to get out. So when I went in to go get my beer selection, my brother's neighbors were there and literally like maybe 2 feet in front of me, and they like shouted my name, and I was like, oh hey, like, just all confused. So I'm just like, why am I like that? Why am I not like observant? And like when people are right in front of me, I just don't even notice who they are. So I decided to go down the self-evaluation Google rabbit hole to find out what's wrong with me. And so I could have one or two things: social anxiety disorder, which is the fear of being watched and judged by others, or
Check.
which is treatable apparently, or, and this sounds more like me, avoidant personality disorder, which involves feelings of inadequacy and sensitive to criticism. Individuals with AVPD may prefer to stay alone and limit social contact significantly.
No, that's not you. Double check.
So I was like, gonna bring that up with the therapist next week.
As he writes up his meds.
Right. Right. But that was
I
my
mean,
week. Hmm?
okay. Well, I've always told you, you are not self-aware. You don't know what's going on around you. We've been
No.
almost kidnapped multiple times, and you're like, what? Huh?
I mean, even when we were in Vegas together, I thought people were around us in our group, and then all of a sudden, like we turned around and they're like a mile behind us. And here, like in my like mental, I'm like, oh yeah, everyone's right next to me, blah blah blah. I'm not even looking. And then here it
Yeah,
turns
you were
out we're
just
not even with anybody.
just walking down the street. I'm like, where is he going?
Right.
Oh man. Yeah, I know. Well, that's I'm glad that you're looking into that. That's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but
Nah.
yeah, but you do need to know your surroundings all the time. Or at least, when somebody comes up and asks you a question about something that happened, you have some sort of idea what happened. And you're like, I don't know.
Or if I get kidnapped by a man in a van, at least be able to get those
Mm-hmm.
facial features for when the,
There you go.
the police finally find me.
Exactly. True, true. Well, that's good. Yeah. No, it's the heat wave is I think over here. We haven't had that 110 temperature for the last couple of days. Now we're dipping into the 60s and 70s. But
Ooh,
I know.
chilly.
I know. Get out the hoodies finally. So, yeah. But other than that, it's going pretty good. Been a long week, so it's good to get back to chit chat with you.
Yeah, for sure. So what are
Okay.
we going to be talking about this week?
Well, you know how I love my, I guess, true crime and, serial killers and different things like that. And although
Oh
these
yeah.
two are not serial killers, they are true crime. And so I thought we'd jump into the topic of the Menendez brothers
Oh,
as they're, in the news again after, I think, what has it been, 20 plus years or so,
I think
trying to get a
almost
new trial.
35, I thought. But yeah, it's
Wow.
been a while.
Time flies. And so what did it happen? In 1989, they killed their parents,
Hmm.
shotgun, killed their parents and everything. And so they're back in the news because Netflix has a great new series out called Monsters,
Mm.
the Menendez brothers. And this is a series that Netflix has done. They did Jeffrey Dahmer, and now they're doing the Menendez brothers, and I believe there's another one coming out. And so you know how I love my my true crimes and everything. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I I thought we kind of dip into what it is that maybe happened with that family, or why the brothers felt that they, had to go to that resort of killing their parents. There's been a lot of, I guess, talk about that their father had molested them
Yeah.
and everything. And, whether people believe it or not, do you, what do you think? Did you believe that? Or do you think it was just a ploy for them to try to, get out of the fact that they actually killed their parents?
It's hard to say because with the documentary, you're kind of going off of their stories. And I understand that there's people out there right now saying that there was no evidence. And when they were in the court, part of the problem why they got convicted is because they weren't able to provide any evidence. But
Right.
how are you supposed to provide evidence of that? You know?
True.
So,
I know it's like nobody else was like around, obviously, when it happened. Family members didn't think that that actually happened. It was just a lot of stuff that just came out during the trial.
mhm,
I think, we were young when that was,
yes.
during that time. It's like the, well, early teens. And so, we really didn't follow it. But as we've gotten older and started, reading about it and listening to it, um, a part of me is wondering, okay, you kind of look back at their pictures and everybody's like, oh, look at their pictures. The boys look so sad and everything. But I, I don't know. A part of me doesn't believe it, but a part of me does.
Mhm.
But, everybody, has their own opinion. And now I guess Kim Kardashian is involved
Yes.
in trying to get them out
Yeah.
of prison. And so now it's just become, all over again. And even I'm listening to Milli Vanilli over again. I don't know
Yes.
if I told you, I'm like just singing in these songs in my head. I'm like, oh my God, we're back in the 90s now,
It's so
listening to
funny you
this
said that
song.
because Milli Vanilli has like replayed at least once in my head every day since I watched that first episode. I'm like,
Right.
why?
Okay. And I'm like, did they really play that song at the funeral?
Oh man.
Girl, I'm gonna miss you. And
Yes.
and, and I'm just like, in my, just singing the song.
Yes.
So, but it is. It's also it's very, a sad story. To think that they resorted to this. Was it because of money? Because their father was, very powerful man, I believe in Hollywood, and just a millionaire. And so
Mm.
I think that they would have stand to inherit, like, I think it was $16 million or something like that. And so, did they kill their family for the money? Because they went on this shopping spree and spending spree of everything as soon as, the money started coming in after their deaths, and until
Mhm.
they, realized, wait a minute, they actually were the ones that killed them. And then when we were watching the show, I can't believe that I guess the police overlooked searching their car.
Oh man. Yes.
And could you imagine? I was like, wait a minute, the guns were in the car. And he was like, oh, I gotta go get my tennis bag. And, the police just let them do that. But obviously, in that time, I think that, they weren't really thinking that the kids could have actually done it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you call it, they lock you up right then and there until we get everything. It's always the wife or the husband or the kids now, you think about it. But
Mhm.
it was very interesting. Obviously, we know that a lot of it is played up for Hollywood in the shows and everything.
Yeah.
But me, I'm always that person like I want to go to the jailhouse and talk to them. you
Well,
know,
well, hitch a ride with Kim because apparently she's talking
okay,
to him.
okay. I'm hitting her up like, hey, can you come pick me up?
Right.
But I just like and how they've changed their lives. Obviously, in jail, I think they've graduated in for college and everything,
Mhm.
and they're doing all this rehabilitation to show that they have changed. And so, do you think that you know if a person spends that much time in jail and they've been rehabilitated, that you know they should get out, or do you think that they are changed? Do you think that they would do something like that again? I mean, for them, it was their parents, which is horrible. But do you
Mhm.
think if they were to get out, I mean, they're at what, 50, 55 or so,
Yeah.
and and do you think they would do something like that again, or do you think that was just a one-time deal, or do you think they should be out?
I mean, looking at the story, it, so going back to like, did they kill their parents for money? Maybe. The murders seemed way too personal to just be like, it seemed like there's a lot of anger in the
Right?
way that their parents were executed. So for me, with them, like if it was, sexual abuse, it doesn't seem like it was for money. Think that, well, part of the problem was that they took manslaughter off the table because they couldn't prove um
Sexual
the sexual
allegations.
abuse.
Mhm.
So I don't, in this instance, I mean, I guess new evidence has also come up about proving about the molestation. I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, I don't see them going out and murdering other people. I think this was
Right.
mainly the parents. They were trying to protect themselves,
Mhm.
especially with Eric, who was still being sexually abused, supposedly up until that point. So I don't
But why
think there
but
would
why
be.
kill the mother, you know? It's like, okay,
Yeah,
if do you think she knew if that was the case? Again, I'm not taking sides or anything like
yeah.
that. I'm like, okay, but why kill the mom?
Well, if you watch the documentary, it seemed like there was kind of conflicting stories again with the way
Right.
that they were saying that. But on one hand, the mother knew what was going on and didn't do
Mhm.
anything about it, and that could cause, anger.
And then she was also kind of like, not necessarily abused, but mentally abused by the husband. They said, and that she was so dependent on him, and so they
Hmm.
didn't want her to be without him. I'm just like, so you kill her, and it's just the way her death seemed a little bit more personal, and just more tragic
Hmm.
in the way they killed her. I mean, she was trying to get away, and they reloaded
Yeah.
and well, at least one of them did,
Right.
and went back to shoot her again. I was like, wow, this is deep.
Right.
So yeah, but it was it's a sad story, obviously, all around, that you have to resort to that, and but I really enjoyed watching the Netflix series about it,
Hmm.
and I think just them driving in the vans and how they got separated was so it was sad. I mean,
Hmm.
you think about it, they've been together all this time and now they had to be separated and just watching them in the vans looking at each other and then all of a sudden parting. Oh, that was so heartbreaking. you know, but I think after some years or so they eventually got back together and everything, but
That's what I read, that
um
they're both, I believe, in a prison in San Diego, is what I last
yeah.
read, that they now have
Yeah.
communication with each other again.
Right, right. And how is it that they've been married multiple times in jail, and I can't get married once? I'm just like, "Really? Okay."
Listen, you got these groupies that like those guys in jail. I mean, scrolling through TikTok, I know I sent a couple to you where they're just like, "Hey, there's this man in Iowa prison. Hit him up."
Right? Okay. I've seen those, and I'm just like, inmate number 222."
Right. What
Right?
did he do? All right, he only
Okay.
killed two people.
You
That's all
only killed
right.
2. That's not technically a serial killer.
Right.
But, yeah, that's crazy that they have been married multiple times, and I believe one of them has a child.
Oh, does
Um,
he?
yeah, I think it might be, Eric or something like that. But yeah, he has a child with his wife, so I'm like, "Well, good for them," you know? They're making
Mhm.
the best that they could possibly do. But do you think that, they'll get another a trial and get out?
I think with, I mean, is it's as like, I don't like this because I'm not a fan of Kim Kardashian, but she seems to really like push for, some kind of reform for prisoners. So I think with her clout, with the documentary, and now with this letter supposedly that they found, where it's Eric, I believe, writing to his cousin, is what it was. Was Eric or Lyle writing to their
Mhm.
cousin about the abuse? Supposedly this letter surfaced. So now they're reviewing
Oh,
that. So
okay.
I think with everything going on, like there may be uh,
Who
uh
knows,
kind
huh?
of reopening. Yeah, and like they've been saying, the views on men being sexually abused back then
Hmm.
are way different than what they are now. And there may be a more sympathetic jury now or a sympathetic eye towards their case as opposed to back in the 90s. I mean,
Right,
a lot of the way that we think about things has absolutely changed in that time.
right, right.
So
Okay.
I think all those things together kind of make the perfect storm to bring this back. Looking at Twitter, you've still got people that are angry that these guys murdered their parents and do not
Right.
want them out of jail. And you've got people
Hmm.
that said, hey, if you've been sexually abused for all those years and you were afraid you were going to get murdered by your parents, like that's self-defense.
I mean, either way, it's a sad situation all around, and unfortunately, people lost their lives, and that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing that you have to take away from that. And they've had to live with the fact that they did do that. If it was for money, then that's really terrible. But if it was for that situation, um, you think about, is there no one that you can go to that you can, you know, speak to about what's going on? That's really and truly the most heartbreaking thing is that they had no one that they could go and say, hey, this is happening to me.
Hmm.
But then they felt that they needed to do something as you know drastic as killing their parents like that. So
Well,
that's
can
that's
I just
serious.
bring up when you're talking about people for them to talk to with
Mm,
their therapist? First off, when they were younger and they were mandated to go to the therapist, it seems like the parents are always there with them. So, that doesn't give them the opportunity to speak. But just like I text you, like, what was up with Eric? Telling the therapist, admitting everything to the therapist, writing a play
because
about killing your
yeah,
parents.
right. Um, that was very interesting. I think that you know was he writing that play to truly act it out, or was he really and truly trying to get into the business with this and then decided, well, this is probably going to be a good way to do it? But
Hmm.
also, at the end of the day, telling his therapist because his conscience was holding on to him. I mean, you
Right.
killed your parents, and you know he wasn't that psychotic as to hold it in, whereas most killers are just eh, they move on to the next thing and go have breakfast. I
And
mean,
that
yeah,
kind
they
of
went
brings
to
up our point, like, do we, what our thoughts were on if they did it, should they get out, whatever. Like you said, if he had like a guilty conscience about the whole thing and needed to talk about it, whereas you've got sociopaths that kind of enjoy it and, would not go and need to confess to somebody.
right, right. I mean, his brother was Lyle was a little bit extra.
Yeah.
I think he kind of egged him on a little bit more, and I think that you know Eric didn't necessarily want to. So, but was it Lyle is older than Eric, right?
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. But I mean, again, either way, you went along with it. You decided that this was what you wanted to do. So, um, but it's just been an interesting story, and like I say, watching the series and listening to all the old songs again,
Hmm.
I cannot get Milli Vanilli out of my head
Yes.
this last 2 weeks. So, but it's interesting to see, and it will be if they come up with a new trial,
Hmm.
um, we'll see what happens. Uh, hopefully, it doesn't conflict with the Diddy trial. So, I
Oh,
can't watch all of these trials at the same time. So,
that's what Kim needs to be focusing on, making sure she's not wrapped up in that Diddy web. But
ooh, into that white party. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
My
Well,
my only criticism of the whole documentary is I think it went on a little too long. I think
right,
9 1-hour episodes. I think they could have squished it down a little bit more, but I mean that was
right.
me personally.
Yeah, yeah. But, we had to get into the whole trial and all that stuff like that. But, I mean, those first couple of episodes were the gripping ones. And so I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Yes.
But it was good. yeah, it was good. I can't wait to see what other monster series
I think it's
Netflix
Ed
comes up with.
Gain is what I heard was the next one. Don't quote me on
Ooh,
it, but I saw an
oh,
article where he might be the next one. That one will be interesting too.
okay, good, good. Well, that's good to see. All right. Well, yeah. Like I say, it's just our opinions. I thought it would be a good discussion. I hadn't talked to you about it, so
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a good discussion for us to talk about. So,
Well, we
but
know you
again,
love your serial killers or your killers, so
I do. Just like me and my man Trump love Hannibal Lecter.
I know the best serial killers, the best.
He's and that's the great thing about him. Maybe that's another topic. We'll jump into Hannibal a little later in the series and stuff.
Okay.
So
Bonus
that's my man.
episode, Hannibal
That's my
Lecter
phone.
story.
Exactly, exactly. Whenever feasible, one must always eat the rude. Oh my gosh. All right, what you got any help topics that you want to talk about?
Ab- Always, every time. So, as always, we want to remind our audience that we're not trained professionals and our advice should not be taken too seriously. But what do I always say, or what do we always say, Franklin?
Is that if we survive the Castros two for one night without being kidnapped by a man in a van, then we're able to qualify to guide you through life's challenges.
And let me tell you, those drinks at a gay bar, they're
Ugh,
like mostly alcohol with a
liquor,
splash of the mixer in a
just a
pint
whiff,
glass,
a whiff.
right? All right. So today we're going to be pulling our question from Reddit, from the advice category, and from the Am I the Asshole category. So we're going to start off with Green Early, who writes "Factory Reset for Humans?" Question mark. They go on to say, you know how computers have the option to factory reset when they get a virus or not working properly? How do we do that for humans? When you are at your lowest of lows, and I mean low, how do you recover?
Interesting.
Right?
I mean, you can't just shut it on and shut it off kind of thing, huh? Um,
It's a bit of a
for
thinker.
me, yeah, that is one. For me, it is, I mean, going to sleep,
Yeah.
and just be like, tomorrow is another day. That's how I kind of reset. I think that, you know, mentally, sometimes you get to a point where you're overloaded. But for me, it's just going to sleep and just waiting to see if anything changes. Life happens, um, and you can only do so much. But mentally, it's taking a nap every now and then for me. What about you?
Well, see, I'm having a hard time giving bad advice on this because it's like, I
I
mean, I
know it's
could
like,
say go out and get drunk, then
no,
you
we don't
just
want to do
can no, but then you just kind of
that.
wake up feeling even worse.
Right, right. Yeah,
Uh,
no, like I say, I think for me, like I say, it's just a nap. I
mm-hmm.
mean, it's just
So when you
shutting
wake
off
up
the
from your
world.
nap, is like your mind refreshed?
Once I do some meditation
Mm,
before, going to sleep and just trying to clean my mind out of all of the drama that's going on in my head, I can do that and then wake up and that's the reset for me. And just, push the negativity out and kind of march through the rest of the week and figure out how it's going to, be better.
mm.
Um,
See,
you
I'm
know.
a big fan of journaling. Like
Mhm.
you just write all that shit out, just get it all out there, do your daily mantra. And I usually find that that helps too for like a serious answer. So, and you know, anti-anxiety medication always helps too.
Always medicated.
Uh, uh, uh,
Yeah, that's true. That's good to always kind of write things out as well, and then kind of reflect on them. I think for
mhm.
me, I don't like to write things out because I don't want to go back to it and review it. I don't want any, you say,
You
no
just don't want
evidence.
any evidence when you get caught one day.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
I know where the journals are at.
Exactly. No, no evidence. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. This one, and I
Mhm.
love the username, is from Lynx Slut. And this is so the Am I the Asshole category. So they're asking if they're the asshole. Their title is Am I the Asshole for Complaining About the Guy Airing His Nuts Out at My Dance Studio? They go on to say, so I go to a pole dance studio in a small town. Very recently, they decided to make most of the classes co ed, meaning men are allowed to join. I don't think anybody has an issue with this. Many of us are there working out in our underwear, but it's no different than at the beach. Until Kevin gets to class. He wears
Evan.
these short, baggy shorts with no underwear on, and his genitals are frequently fully visible. He even jokes about it like, sorry in advance for anything you might see, ladies. The apology shows he knows his balls are out, and he just doesn't care. He seems to think it's fine to flash his entire nutsack to a room full of unconsenting women. I'm all for sharing our space with men, but none of the women are exposing their genitalia like that. It's just not done in our dance studio. If you did that at a gym, they would tell you to cover up and leave. I'm thinking about sending an email to complain about it. It's even worse because he's one of the instructor's husbands. Am I overacting or is this just wildly inappropriate? We've only been co-ed for like 2 months and I'm already having to look at men's ball sacks. Should I complain or would that make me an asshole? I really don't want to have to look at this man's nutsack again in what used to be a safe space for women.
Is disgusting.
Right?
And first of all, she should just not even go back to whatever this place is. Um, I mean, she could send an email, but why go back? You sitting there 2 months looking at this man's nuts. Clearly, you don't have a problem with it. Um, I mean, the first day I would have said something. Hey, bruh, your nuts are out.
Right.
Cover that up. I mean, that's disgusting. And for no one to say anything, but they all say that they're uncomfortable. No, you're not, because you're not saying anything. I don't care if it is, Becky's husband. Your husband's nuts are out, so have him cover that mess up.
Well, it
Yeah,
makes you
don't.
wonder if this is just like a kink of his and his wife is in on it kind of thing.
Of course they
Like,
are.
ugh.
Of course they are. She's like, honey, come to the gym or wherever this place is, and just have your nuts all over the floor. Come on. And for nobody to say anything, they don't have an issue with it, but they're all uncomfortable. Say something.
Can
Come
you just
on.
imagine his nutsack juice just all over the pole too?
Eh,
Like all that
eh.
nasty, sweaty crotch juice just.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you need to say something about it, and leave. Go find you another pole dancing class or wherever this is. But no, don't put yourself in that situation. That's a violation. You're that's disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know, or figure out a way, like when you're
He's
spinning on the pole
old.
sideways, doing like a swift kick to the nuts while you're doing a little
Exactly.
pole twirl.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get you?
Right.
No, he's the asshole for doing that,
Oh
and
yeah.
for him to say that, he already knows what he's about to do. So she's not an asshole for complaining about it, and I would pick up my toys and leave. So and not come back.
Your toys. What toys are you bringing to the dance
Mm,
studio?
no, you never know. But yeah, no, she should definitely say something about it and then not come back.
Yeah,
Poor
I
thing.
agree. Definitely bring
It,
up something because there's probably other women that are too nervous or too afraid. But
right.
again, it's a dance studio.
Hmm.
Just leave. Write bad Yelp reviews. Say if you want to see
Right.
some old man's nutsack, come on in.
This, and then they'll probably have tons of people running in there.
Hopefully it's all men.
Ugh,
Just look at each other's nutsacks all day.
disgusting.
All right, well that's all that I had for today.
Okay, well, good. That's some good information. I still can't believe that. Running around with your
Make
nuts
sure to
out.
bring
Wow.
the Lysol wipes to your next pole dancing class,
Ugh.
right?
You don't have to tell me twice. You remember I sprayed the bed down at the
That's right.
hotel. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I mean, thank you again, everyone, for listening. Again, like, comment, share. If you want your questions answered, please send us a DM on our socials or leave a comment in the video. But Once again, we want to try to get our word out there and maybe be able to help other people.
Right. Yes. Thank you, as always, for joining us.
All
We'll see you
right.
next time.
Bye.